One of the remarkable things is that it has a mass famine grave. There's a misconception that Belfast didn't suffer during the potato famine in the 1840s. Unfortunately, that's not true. There are three identified famine graves in Belfast, and the one in Friar's Bush is special because it's untouched. It was sealed in the early 1850s, and essentially this rough, hummocky ground has not been touched since. See, about 20% of the population was lost over the 5 years or so of the famine. Many people were forced to emigrate or wanted to get out of Ireland. That set a trend that halved the population of Ireland over the next century. The famine then changed the character of the nation, where anyone young and ambitious wanted to get out of Ireland, and in many cases, of course, to go to the land of promise in America. Friar's Bush Graveyard is a small burying place in Stranmillis. It's an ancient place of burial. We don't know how ancient. Certainly it was in use in the 1500s. And it closed in 1869. But only family burials after that, in decreasing frequency. So a fascinating place full of crumbly old headstones, overgrown memorials. And I've been researching it, running tours, reading up about it now for a few years. It's a part of the web of our social history, an old graveyard, connecting the stories of people. And one of the things that struck me was that many of them are family graves that mention family members who died in America. As you walk up the main path, you can see in headstones mentions of New York, New Orleans, San Francisco, etc. The more you look, the more you find. And those are the most obvious connections. And then researching family stories, newspapers, archives, I found more and more links with America. A particularly interesting one is Peter Lundy. Peter Lundy lived on Joy Street. His finest work was completing the fit out of the interior of St. Malachy's Catholic Church on Alfred Street. Some people would argue the most beautiful church in Ireland. Shortly afterwards, he went bankrupt and emigrated to America. So all we know of him after that is that he died in Cincinnati in 1853. There's one person in Friar's Bush who came the other way, who crossed from America to Ireland, and his name was Montague Talbot. Montague was born in 1774 in colonial America. And he was born in Boston. Unfortunately for Montague, when he was 8 years old, his father was lost at sea. So his mother brought himself and his siblings back to Britain and Ireland. And Montague was to get a very substantial bequest when he completed his law degree in London, but he forfeited his bequest to become an actor. He appeared in Covent Garden and Drury Lane and ended up in Ireland. There he was very popular in the theatres in Dublin in particular, but in 1808 he became the manager, the impresario of the theatre in Arthur Square in Belfast. It was on the 10th of February 1818 he sung an ode on the coming of age of Lord Belfast, and this took place in the Assembly Rooms, our oldest building. And on that occasion Montague Talbot sung a song that he had composed especially for Lord Belfast, and he sung it to the tune of the American national anthem. Montague eventually got too busy, he went bankrupt, but he continued to act, and when he died in 1831, unfortunately he was buried in an unmarked grave in Friar's Bush because the family had no money to put a stone on. There's another circumstance that caused much emigration that's peculiar to Belfast, and that is in the Victorian era the horrendous sectarian violence and division. Regularly that broke out in rioting, burnings of houses, streets of houses, injuries and death, a fracture in our community. And of course many people in both sections of that community just wanted to get out of it. And there's a fine song by Jimmy McCarthy called The Sky Road that I'll quote from. Danny's made his mind up. He's going to America. He's going to America and leaving all of us behind. For he says there's nothing here not drenched in beer, blood and retribution, and the wealth distribution is weighing heavy on his mind. And I think that summarises some of the reasons to leave, to move to a more cosmopolitan society which welcomes all.
Cut.
Is that subtle enough?
That puts
You
it.
have to read between the lines there.